Welcome to another episode of the 100% podcast with me, your host, Harry Purdy. And today I am joined by a 100% podcast legend. He is back on the show. Not only is it the 200th episode of this show, Mr. Robb McGeary is back on the show with his 20th appearance of the show, equating to 10% of this whole series. It's a big milestone for me. It's a big milestone for Rob. Welcome back to the Fat Loss and Libido coach, Mr. Big Bob McGeary.
Thank you for having me, sir. There's definitely some manifestation math in there that some hippie chick right now is counting, saying this was meant to happen, something like that.
Mate, weirdly, when I was messaging you last week about it and you couldn't do it last week, and then it just all of a sudden fell on this, I feel like it's a real. In fact, I could let's go for all of the big people in the world that like Frank Lampard's, yeah, The Rocks, whatever. This episode 200, 10% was made for you, mate. So
Nice.
I'm
Appreciate that.
genuinely welcome to have you back on the show, man.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that. I would have had the cigar and the whiskey, but I'm not allowed to smoke in this building.
Yeah, and I would have
And
the party poppers
yeah.
and the 0% Guinness, but don't have either. So there we go. We're out of,
We'll do it. We'll
we're
do
out
it
of
when
that.
we meet in person.
Yeah, yes, mate, for sure, for sure. So 20 appearances later, what would you say has been obviously this podcast is about growth, it's about inspiring people. What would you say 20 appearances later? We did our first episode probably 3 years ago now, 2.5 years ago now. What would you say the biggest element of growth that you've had in that time frame has been?
In my own life,
Yeah.
a willingness to let go of being in other people's visions.
Ooh, wow.
That's been the thing. I've always been, if someone asks me to do something, and within reason, this doesn't just mean I'm a walkover. Someone asks me to do something, I'm going to do it. Someone asks me to work together with them, I'm going to work together with them, as we have done previously on like tech emailing stuff and things like that. I'm going to work together with you. But it's so easy. We are all guilty of this. It's so easy to put so much of yourself into another person's vision. Most of us with employed roles are doing this in a way. If you work for a big corporation or something, you're not working towards your vision of where that business goes. You're working towards someone else's, right? However, how you're paid, how you structure your time, you structure your week, how you try and channel your own progression within that company is kind of working towards your vision, your longer term vision. So win-win there, because I'm a big, I don't like it when us self-employed people kind of shit on employed people a little bit as if they are stuck, because they're not. And some are doing a lot better than us. It's just a different path, right? But when you find yourself trapped in someone else's vision, you notice how much time you've wasted, how much effort you've wasted, potentially how much money you've wasted, or even in relationship terms, how much you've wasted there, how much you've given yourself away. You can't really get that back. Okay? From a financial perspective, yeah, maybe you can get that back. But everything else is already gone. That time's gone, that effort's gone. And it can be, as you saw me at the start of the year, on a Zoom call in Alliance, struggling to figure out what I do next because I'd lost sight of who I was and what I actually wanted. And it sometimes just needs that someone to give you that little kick up the arse of you got trapped in someone else's vision. So no wonder you don't know what you want, because you're working towards what someone else wants. So the biggest thing in the last 3 years, and that has been in a case from a pretty much every area that we cover, really. From a fun perspective, I've said no to things that were kind of fun to do at the start, just aren't anymore. Whether that's helping out with gig projects or stuff that I didn't really want to do, that I kind of said yes because I felt guilty because they've helped me before. Said no to a lot of those now. I took a massive work-based financial decision earlier by leaving a business partnership that I was part of. In terms of family, from starting this podcast, that relationship that I was in at the start of this podcast is over. Fitness, not so much. I haven't sacked any clients, which is a good thing. So that shows I'm taking on the right people at the moment. But that's been the big thing for me. Like if I really sit and think that in terms of personal growth, because okay, we want to maybe look at. I realise I'm waffling here as well. We maybe want to
Nah, I'm
look
enjoying
at
it.
growth in terms of a physical thing. Well, my training's always changing. My weight's always up and down. So it's not one thing that I'm aiming for. In terms of finance, it's nice to have that, see that big bank balance, or at least know what's coming in every single month. But those are arbitrary numbers where your goals can kind of change around that anyway. In terms of actual growth, for some people, it is saying no to things. For some people, it's saying yes to more things. For some people, it's putting yourself out there more, or letting go of certain things, or even trying stuff you've never done before and pushing yourself further like you do. Everyone's got their own different one, right? Their own idea of what their growth is. But sometimes it's just a case of going, no, I'm not doing that anymore because it doesn't help me. Which may sound selfish, but it's probably one of the least selfish things you can actually do. You're a better person to be around, and you're actually taking actions that make you a better person. And if you're a better person, everyone around you gets that better person.
For sure, man. There's a couple of things that come up for me there is that one of my like 5/5 or 1/5 of 100% is treat yourself like you would do a friend or family member. And if
Nice,
you knew
nice.
that a friend or family member was doing things and it was negating their energy, leaving them feeling worse afterwards, maybe there was an element of like fear or not regret, that's the wrong word, but like scarcity with the decision that they were going to make, you would tell them, oh, don't like maybe get yourself out of that situation or whatever.
Mm.
And actually, mate, interestingly, and this isn't like a criticism of you, what I've noticed is when I was going through my strife with a like quite a volatile situation in a relationship, it was like you, mate, you got to look after yourself, and there wasn't any point until like the fourth or fifth time that you were like, Harry, mate, you got to fucking do something about this. That you actually then listen, and you're like, shit, like what was I doing? Like, how comes I didn't say no? And then, interestingly, I think like the fourth or fifth time we had a mini chat, it was like, right, like something's going to change now. And I do think there is an element that the human psyche needs time to like, adjust and learn, and there is that element of not being ready, but feel almost, I guess, there's like some form of safety involved in it, isn't there, as well, with what the next step is going to be, and making sure that if you are jumping from a frying pan, that you aren't jumping into the fire, bringing that analogy
Mm.
in.
Yeah. And you think scarcity is a very comfortable place to live. And I currently live in an area of London that is that's definitely accelerated this saying no to things and not being caught up in another person's vision anymore. I live opposite a courthouse where 3, 4 days a week they deliver prisoners. So it's a low tier courthouse, it's a youth courthouse as well, so people can wander in freely for whatever their case is. But they deliver a lot of prisoners as well. There's people that get straight back on the truck and go right back to prison. There's people that are let out because they've done their time or they've got parole or whatever. I don't think it's people that have been wrongly in prison by the people that come out. And I occasionally sit there and watch, and you see the people that come out that look regretful and maybe want to make a change, and you see the people that come out and within a minute of being out of that courthouse are back to committing some sort of crime. Whether that is dealing drugs straight away, whether that is stealing something that they see, whether that is jumping into a car with some very unsavory looking and sounding characters that I've also noticed around the area. Right opposite the courthouse is a little like open garage type area where many drug addicts will spend a lot of their time completely out of it, flat out on the floor, or being aggressive, which I didn't think you could actually be on crack or meth or whatever they're doing. I thought that was quite a calming influence. Evidently not.
Mm.
You hear and see a hell of a lot here. There's a lot of poverty. There's a lot of drugs. There's a lot of crime, and a lot of those people. That's a result of what happens when you're caught up in someone else's vision. I don't think necessarily anyone ever wakes up unless they've got something wrong up here and goes, I'm going to do a load of drugs today. I'm going to commit some crime today because that's going to make my life better. Everyone knows drugs don't. Everyone knows crime is the wrong thing to do. Yet some people are so caught up in that cycle, and it's because it's someone else's vision. Someone else has got them in there. Someone else is the leader of the gang or the dealer or whatever it is. So you really see here, like I talk about growth, and my growth has been saying no to certain things, but I'm nowhere near where I want to be financially. I definitely don't want to be living here. And there's a lot I need to fix in my life. But in terms of where I am, oh my God, sometimes I wake up and go, this is rock bottom. Jesus Christ, no. There's like 20 other layers before I even get close to something you could consider rock bottom from what I see around this area. And how do people ever get trapped in that? Now, yeah, I'm talking about a very extreme negative demographic, but in a way, it's strange. I've had this conversation with someone before. It's strange when you look at people in that area, they're kind of comfortable there. They're not willing to make that snap change and completely cut all that junk out of their life because there's an element of comfort to it. There's an element of happiness to it that we'll never quite understand because we're not down there. But yet, up here, slightly higher up, scarcity is very, very comfortable to be in.
Mm.
It's so easy to not leave a job because you're not sure of what's on the other side. It's so easy to stay in a relationship that may be good 40% of the time, but 60% is terrible. But 40% is still a lot of time, right? It's the same with your diet. It's the same with your training, same with your peer group. Of course, it's comfortable. We're creatures that kind of look for comfort before we seek out challenge.
Yeah.
And obviously, you are a rare breed where you seem to be hunting out more challenge than you are comfort out of most people that I know.
Well, I appreciate that, mate. I sometimes I doubt myself, and it falls back. Not that I am scared of chasing discomfort, because I have evidence I do that, even if I know that like it may hurt, or yeah, there's some kind of, I may have to upset somebody maybe, or say no on a few more times than what I want to, but there's always more, right? And I don't mean like there's always more people to upset, or there's always more people to say no to. What I mean
There
is
is, yeah.
there's always like a next best thing. And I kind of mentioned it's all, and that's not from a comparison frame. It's just like, well, where is the point that you're gonna be like, do you know what? That's fucking cool. Like, I've got all these medals. I've like people who haven't seen me for 10 years will go, what the fuck? Like, mate, you look unbelievable. What's happened? Kind of thing. But then in this little brain up here, it's like, but yeah, there's this one thing here that I want to do, and I want to achieve this as well, and I want this to go well, and I want to do this like side hustle thing on YouTube about fucking buying and selling on whatever. And it's interesting, mate, because I think we've had this discussion before, and we'll come round to like some of our best chats we've had, where it's like personal growth and self growth and self development. Where do you go? Oh, like, well, that's it. I'm happy. I don't think when you get into it, I don't think there is a point where, not that I'm happy, because I don't chase feeling happy. I chase challenge. And I think that gives me some kind of contentment and some kind of enjoyment from chasing that challenge. But when you're on that ladder, as using my keynote little screen behind me, when you're on that ladder and you are looking for the next goal to achieve and whatever, well, when do you stop? I don't think you do when you get on there, because
Mm,
what's like just staying still? Like, I don't think that suits me anymore.
mm. Yeah, it can't, right? It can't do. One of my favorite films, The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith.
I've actually never
Ba-
seen.
have you not?
No.
100% worth a watch. Could not recommend it more. Based on a true story. I forget the guy's name, which is horrendous. But it's based on his book. Um, and yeah, Will Smith starts out. He's got a wife and a kid, and he's selling. He's like a freelance salesman selling these medical machines that he's put a load of money into buying them in bulk, and then go around hospitals and doctors and sell them, and they're not selling very well. It's a bit of a, not a scam, but a bit of a poor decision to put all his money into buying these things. At the same time, he's also trying to get a unpaid internship at a like a stockbroking type fund. I think it was a stockbroking type company, and it's a lot of struggle in that film, and it shows how much effort this guy put into achieving that top goal with everything else that was going on around him, with his kid, with technically being homeless for a while. There's some harrowing scenes in the movie that are again based on a book. This is the guy's real life, what he went through.
Chris Gardner.
Chris Gardner, there you go, incredible. And then, and not to spoil it, but it's obviously pretty flipping obvious what happens. But eventually, he then, by doing more than everyone else, he actually gets the paid role in this corporation, and that completely changes his life because it's an opportunity to earn a lot of money. Now, the pursuit of happiness, right? You could then say, by the end of that film, he's completed it. He's now got job security, he's got stability, he's got money coming in, he can get a place with him and his kid, don't have to sleep on the streets anymore, all these things. Fantastic, he's won. But yet he doesn't stop there, right? If you then look at the rest of this guy's life, he's then gone further and further and further, challenged himself more, then written a book. Now he does speaking all over the world and he does other coaching programs and things like that. And I'll be honest, I don't know too much else about the guy's life. We could use Peter Sage as an example. Peter Sage, you could say, yeah, he's hit the point where he should be happy and then things went wrong, got put in prison. And then you could say coming out of that should be the point where now he's happy. What do we constantly see the geezer doing? Challenge after challenge after challenge. I thought after that row around across the Atlantic or whatever it was, geezer would be taking a break. And then next thing I see, he's doing a marathon in the Arctic or something.
Fucking mad. North
like
Pole,
that,
isn't it?
right?
Yeah.
Like it's North Pole or something, flipping marathon. Flipping hell. Geezer doesn't stop. But I don't believe for a second that that's just to show other people. If you remember when he did speak to us, it was Manchester, right? Was it Manchester?
Stamford Bridge.
Stamford Bridge. He explained that he was doing this row event to show his clients that he's still got skin in the game, that he's still willing to challenge himself. But he wouldn't just be doing it for that. It has to be for his own challenge and his own pursuit first. And I'm pretty sure he would be one of the first to say that you complete it doesn't mean you're now happy. You're happy of what you've done, looking back at what you've done, how you have challenged yourself and completed it and grown from it, or failed and learned from it, whichever. But there's no point where you just go, yeah, this is cool, sorted now.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, really. I think without going conspiratorial, how do people like this not? Yeah, yeah. How do people like this not get thrown on the mainstream media as like, hey, here's to what you can achieve? Because I just don't understand that like the kid. I know he's done TEDx, and I know some of his videos have gone like not platinum, but you know what I mean. They've gone relatively viral with a lot of views. But somebody like Peter Sage, I'm rereading his book actually. If you were to read his message and how to be almost like unkindly positive about yourself and about your life and switch the narratives to what does he call them? Oh my God, like was it graduate like life's graduation assignments, whatever it is, like any challenge you have, it's just something else you've got to graduate from, right? Things like this. Imagine if you knew that when you were 14, 15, 16. You fucking like everybody would be like so different when they grow up. Like any child that had some form of trauma or challenge growing up would think about it differently. Even at college, like those levels of like when I go into college and I just do that little reframe of speaking to like if it's young footballers or the public services people that I spoke to, like girls and boys, like what was one thing that made them sad this year or whatever like that, and then what's come positively from it. Just thinking about things in that different way can definitely help, but. So I just I just wanted to chuck that in there. So I'm like the guy is phenomenal. Like in my opinion, one of the best I've seen speak, one of the most inspirational people that I've ever seen. And the like you say, it's not just about achieving one thing. It's like right, okay, close that chapter, next one, please. And I think it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, and it's not even conspiratorial to say that society is kept in comfort. We've got more tools at our disposal than ever for an extremely comfortable life. You can just get by on this type of salary. You've got your pension being paid into. You've got food available at fairly low cost, any type of food that you want, that is now available to order on your phone and someone else bringing it to you. So you don't even have to do the other cooking. You've got how many different entertainment channels now? Like, and how many people have all of them? You've also got your video games. You've also got different media channels on your phone, not just for sitting in the evening and watching. There's proven clickbait and outrage articles. There's people that write things for the sole reason, not educating you, but to get you to respond. So you're then caught up in their cycle and you get their adverts and you get more of their stuff all the time. And in terms of advertising, you may think you can opt out of getting your data out there, but they've got your data already. Like it's game over, right? It's people worried about ChatGPT. It's too late. Google and Facebook and everyone else already had it anyway. So there is benefit to society keeping you comfortable and not pushing yourself to get further and happier, because then you'll realize if you are quote unquote happier, you fill your life less with these sedations, with the channels, with alcohol, with porn, with food, whatever it is. If you're genuinely happy, you don't need those things in your life, and you can get by on not very much at all. But unfortunately, we are, sadly, and in the UK, this is very much the case, trapped until you release yourself from it in scarcity, in comfort. The message without getting too negative about it, but the message I would put there to people is your challenge doesn't just have to be go self-employed and try and make a load of money. You don't have to be Andrew Tate. You don't have to be flipping Justin Bieber and have a hit record that everyone loves or whatever. I don't know why I went for Justin Bieber there, but I did. Your
Especially after his latest album, mate. Shite.
I think it's because I saw a photo of him shooting a gun today, and I was like, I quite like him actually. It can be anything. So again, it doesn't mean if you find you are stuck in the comfort zone, it doesn't automatically mean quit your job, start your own self-employment business, and that's your challenge now. Your challenge, you could be mega happy in your job. You could have great peer groups, you could have great structure, and that works with your lifestyle. You could really enjoy what you're actually doing. And your challenge can then come from something else. It doesn't just necessarily mean lift a heavy weight or run a mega distance or anything like that. There's so many different things that you have to listen to what you actually want. You have to take the time to sit down and actually figure out what do you want. And if you don't, again, it goes back to my biggest growth lesson. You're then caught up in someone else's vision. And sadly, especially in this country, there's a lot of politicians, there's a lot of corporations, there's a lot of shady characters that just want you caught up in their vision,
mate,
or that you're not even part of their vision, right?
I did a solo episode actually a couple of weeks ago. It was about like pretty much, are you getting caught up in the negativity? Because at the moment, even for somebody that I put the blinkers on a little bit, but right now I keep I get like crossfire from like YouTube if I'm just looking for a video to watch. No matter what you do with your algorithm on YouTube, there's that latest news headlines thing, right? So it always pops up and you're like, fucking hell, that's shit, what the hell? Like in the article headlines, like the UK is close to civil war and like things, and what scared me about that one, mate, not scared me, that's the wrong word, woke me up a little bit about that one, is it was somebody that I admired, like Ant Middleton, basically saying like the UK is fucked, but he's now jumped on the bandwagon of a political party. So actually, well, my head goes, who's asked him to say this? Because not saying that he's not thinking for himself and whatever, because I'm sure Ant Middleton, out of everybody, to be fair, chucked in front of the media, would probably say fuck off if he was told to speak a narrative. But at the same time, he's been asked to speak for this party for a reason, and it's not about going political, but he's got a lot of ears, right? A lot of ears, and I just don't see it being. You don't have to be a wizard and a wise guy to recognize why he's been brought along on that narrative. You know what I'm saying? But I don't mean that from just that standpoint neither. Like all of the immigration talks at the moment are just so scaremongering, and people living in somewhat fear. And again, I'm fortunate enough that I can literally go, whoa, step back. But so many people aren't. And it's absolutely right, mate. They are mirroring what somebody else wants them to think. And unless you have some kind of acknowledgement and you understand that that's the game, like they are trying to get you, they are, but like they are trying to get you to think in a certain way. They are trying to get you to feel a certain way too. Unless you realize that, it's really easy to get caught up in that cycle.
Yeah, massively so. And in terms of, because that's the thing people argue, is who's they? Well, they is politicians, and they're the people behind them that make decisions, which are military industrial complex, pharmaceuticals, and financial companies and media, all under the blanket of the same people that own all the media companies. That's your they. That's who wants to
Yeah,
decide how
yeah.
happy you are or not.
And I think it get even more um prominent now that people are starting to realize that like 2% of the population in the UK now hold the whole of the United Kingdom's wealth and all of those kind of things. And
Mm,
again, look, that is capitalism. That again, without saying I do or don't like it, that's just the way that our politics
mm.
has worked since fucking the dawn of time, since business was created. And I am essentially a business owner as well, and wouldn't mind a few extra quid, right? That's just how it fucking works. And I think everybody would say that. But at
Mm.
the same time, if those percentile of people are also controlling the media and stuff, then it does become a little bit obvious as to why they would want you to feel a certain way. But anyway, let's get off of the bot chat before we before we dive into a big hole. Mate, what would you say? Quick swerve. What would you say the biggest changes that you've seen from the 100? Well, what was the Grassroots Guy podcast to the 100% podcast and over the 200 episodes that you've seen would be?
And in terms of how serious you've taken it, you weren't just, you started off, I can remember it. We hadn't had much of a conversation in Alliance before. You started off and you came, tapped me on the shoulder, shook my hand, and said you'd love to get me on an episode one day. I'm pretty sure that was Manchester. Maybe I'm
Yeah, that
getting
was the
confused with
one.
our
That was the
interactions,
one
right?
that Russell Brand. No,
Russell
not Russell
Kane,
Brand.
Russell Kane,
Russell Kane. Yeah.
yeah, Russell Kane. Um, um, and what have I seen you do? Take a small Zoom, low quality webcam
Yeah.
style podcast with probably started off with like your wired mics or your AirPods like I'm doing, but
Yeah.
then I don't host the podcast, so I'm allowed to I'm allowed to do stuff on my AirPods. But still, if I wanted to take my appearances a bit more serious, why wouldn't I invest in that stuff? You've invested in yourself, not just in terms of how the thing looks, because it's crystal flipping clear on my phone. In terms of the backgrounds that you've used as well, you took your branding seriously. You've taken the guests that you get on probably a bit more serious as well. But then again, you changed from what was more. Would you say it started out as a football?
Yeah, like
It
so
was more of a football thing, right?
local
Yeah.
sport, yeah.
And
And
there's only
then
so much local sport you can do before you've covered every local
well,
athlete, right?
and the thing that I will always say is that I remember getting these sport like pros on, even the grassroots guys on, and women, and being and wanting to speak to them about how they thought about the what they were doing rather than what they were
Mm.
actually doing, you know?
So that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest change right there. It's not just the investing in yourself in terms of the quality of your podcast, but in terms of the quality of your guests and the quality of what you're asking. You figured out what you wanted to do this for. It wasn't just talking about local sport. That was just an easy entry level way for you to cut your teeth in podcasting and figure the tech out. And how many people still like wouldn't know how to do that? And that's fine. It's not a case of just like, oh, how do we do this? Do we rent a podcast studio and the rest is taking care of it? Well, no, you've got to edit it and upload it and everything else. It's like you figured all that stuff in the background, made it physically and visually better, whilst also growing yourself in terms of what you want to talk about with people on the actual show itself. Because again, like local sport is kind of like not knocking it at all. But if I'm not from your area,
Yeah.
am I going to pay much of an interest to it? Probably not. But then suddenly you're talking to local athletes about the way they think, about their mindset, about their routines and stuff like that. And that stuff's applicable to everyone. You just figured out what you wanted to do, and now you're going full throttle with it. And how many people can say they've got 200 episodes of a podcast? Not many. I can't remember what the stats are, but it's not many beyond 9 episodes or something, right?
Yeah.
Something
It's,
scary like that.
I don't think many make it to the 20th, that's for sure.
Jesus, 20th, and I've been on 20
Yeah, you've
episodes.
been.
You know,
Sorry, mate. But
that means
but
I've done more podcasts than most people who
yeah,
start their
mate.
own.
As a guest, by the way. But seriously, as well,
Mm.
your first episode with me was the 13th of May 2022. So I wasn't lying in saying it was three
Wow,
years ago. Yeah.
wow.
3 years, 3 months, in fact. But what an unbelievable journey. And I think one thing that I want to touch on there is something I've been thinking about. And I may have mentioned once or twice before, but when I look at the episodes and the variety of guests from like England international cricketers to like somebody who plays football down the park, basically, one thing that I can genuinely say with all honesty and hope, like it genuinely gives me hope in the human race that there is a lesson from every pod, like a lesson from every pod. And I think one thing that, again, without getting preachy, this may sound a little bit preachy, but one thing I've noticed, oh, even more so recently, is I'm one of them people that I'll walk down the street and I'll say, "Hi, mate, hi, hi," like whatever. How many people are A, shocked, or B, like a small percentile won't even respond to what you do?
Hmm.
But with this chat and with this open forum where I can get one, two people into into a room or onto it, like I try not to use Zoom that
Mm.
much now, as you're aware. But when I can have a conversation with somebody and just be human, we're so well, we naturally want to feel that connection with somebody, not in like a not in that way, but
Mm.
just in a connection of oxytocin, have a conversation, learn something, share stories. This is what we're about as humans, and
Mm.
it's not done enough. And honestly, when I like scroll through these early episodes here, like there are just people on there that I could say, "Yep, I learned that. Yep, I learned that," and it's amazing to
Amazing.
do and have that kind of library of things I can just look back at and go, "Yeah, that was
Mm.
cool because of this reason."
Yeah. I think everyone wants those conversations, really. No one really is satisfied just by turning up, meeting someone and talking about their work that day or the latest football result or whatever it is, or even just old stories from their life that they've told a million flipping times. People listen to podcasts, people listen to audiobooks, people watch YouTube, people listen to interviews with other people, and they have thoughts about this stuff. And they either successfully put it into their life or they don't, or but everyone's got dreams and everyone's got struggles and everyone's got things beyond what is popular that they want to everyone's got a story to tell as well.
Yeah.
And they don't necessarily, and that's not me saying everyone needs to start a fucking podcast, but we don't have that human interaction anymore. It's a lot of like, it's not even basic pleasantries with people sometimes. It's like you say, it's just being completely blanked, which is a bit odd.
Yeah, man. I watched the interaction today just with in a charity shop and somebody bought an item and the woman behind the counter was obviously there as a
Mm.
volunteer. She was enjoying the fact that she was having
Mm.
interactions with this person. And fuck me, like it was almost like the person that was being served needed to have 20p put in them. So they started to work again. Like no like pleases, no thank yous, no see you laters, like
Yucking, right?
just like
Mm.
robotic. And
Yeah.
look, you don't know what had happened, but there was nothing obvious for me to say why that person couldn't have said please, thank you, interacted with that. And I'm
Mm.
like, geez, is that I know it's only a small percentage of people, but come on, we can all do a little bit better than that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame, isn't it? With the social media, greatest communicative tool ever invented, probably greater than the phone. And we're now in an era where we're actually communicating less
Yeah.
with people in person. Wild.
Yeah, it is crazy. Funny. I have I have two charity shop stories from this weekend. I was away with my other half in Devon for the weekend for her 30th, and I had a really interesting interaction with somebody in a charity shop yesterday. We There was like one of those just book charity
Mm.
shop. And I was up around like the personal development section, just seeing what they had, and there's all sorts of wacky goodness in that area, right? From
Of course.
your like your spiritual side of things to your tarot reading to all of those. And do you know what? If that's your bag and it helps you, absolutely. But my like Miriam said to me, "Oh, what were you looking at?" And I was like, "Oh, it was just a self-development section." And the guy behind, as I was walking back towards the door, the guy behind the counter went, "Oh, stay away from that." And I was like, "Oh, really, mate? Why is that?" Like, just went, I went like full coach mode on him, bit Buddha-esque. I was like, "Oh yeah, why is that, mate?" He's like, "Oh, it's like the plague. It's almost venturing into a gateway of narcissism." I was like, "Oh, really? Why do you think that?" And he didn't really have an answer. That
Yeah.
was the interesting thing.
Mm.
But I thought, do you know what? Like, I could be like, mate, all of that, like those content kinds of books, say, like, I essentially saved my brain from where it was at in 2021. Like,
Mm.
and there's a reason why I'm doing what I'm doing now. But I thought there's no point. Like, he'll learn those lessons eventually. And I was just like, geez, if self-development is a gateway into narcissism, then fucking hell, I'm doing something wrong, or he's got it very wrong. But yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I was just baffled
yeah,
by the. But one thing I would say is that that is that element of or the side of the internet that does talk down to people that try to better
a little.
themselves.
Yeah,
A
yeah, yeah,
little, yeah.
yeah. Mm,
Yeah, and I was just, although I could have gone in, I didn't, and I was quite happy with myself for doing that. But I would have liked to have, do you know, what? I'd have liked to have had just a conversation with him about it. Like, do
mm,
you realize that actually some of those books have probably saved people's lives, and whatever your experience has been
mm.
isn't reflective of the self-development world that I'm in. You know what I mean? And
It's quite funny because that's true. There will be, even some of the wacky stuff, even tarot readings will have had a similar effect on someone else's life than the Paul Morts, Peter Sages, Dax Moyes have had on our life.
mm,
The same thing, right? It's just a different method. But to explain to someone that it's not a gateway into narcissism, it's that really the narcissists are the ones that haven't self-developed at all,
yeah, exactly.
and are avoiding that. What he's saying from a perceived position of authority in his mind that all that stuff is bullshit and it's a gateway into narcissism, etc. In itself is a form of narcissism because he's right and all that stuff should be avoided and you shouldn't be looking at it. And maybe without being too horrible, maybe there's a reason that he's in there doing that instead of maybe doing something that makes him a hell of a lot happier, or he doesn't have to criticize what someone else is looking at.
Well, and also interestingly, when you think about it from a self-development, in my eyes, if it's taught in a correct way, will there'll always be some element of how you can help other people in
Mm,
that. And I,
yeah.
I actually that was the other thing I said to him. I was like, oh, actually, if you look into it a little bit, mate, there's a bit of a crossover between religion and self-development. And he said, oh, maybe I need to look into it a bit more, blah blah blah. And there is, right? The consciousness
Mm,
levels, how you feel, all of those things, being a good
mm,
Samaritan and how it can impact you. So anyway, going back to my point is like in self-development, there's always an element of how can you impact others, whether that be with like just obviously being there for somebody or
mm,
from a professional standpoint as well. And he's doing that by being a volunteer in a charity shop. He's just not realizing it.
mm.
So
Yeah, yeah.
it's
Mm,
just a bit of an awareness. And I do think that there's some people that probably are more, they like, if you were to look at what they do in their actions, I'm not saying this is relatable to this guy, but then they're closer to that void of being into self-development than they think they are, you know?
mm,
And I just thought it was quite a bizarre interaction. But on a positive note, I'm gonna link the conversation back to the start before we go on to the next subject, is that talking about what's next and sometimes I get not I challenged by thinking, oh well, like what is the next part of the ladder, blah blah blah. I did have a weekend down in Devon, and
mm.
positively, it was the most like peaceful weekend ever, right? Like glam, like in a tent, um, sea view, watch the tide going in and out, watching the
Perfect.
sunset, literally doing nothing revolving around screens, no bookings, no nothing, all those kind of things.
Nice.
And then you have the thought, you're like, well, actually, I'm actually content right now. Like, I don't need to go and like run yeah, I went for a 5K run, but not out of I want to fucking go and achieve this. It was just it's quite a nice thing to do
Mm,
in the part of the world I was in, right? And so when I actually do reflect and I go, are you content already? Is it just fun that you're doing these other things? I would say, yeah, it probably is. I just wanted to add that bit of reflection
mm.
in. In terms of our conversations, Rob, we have the date here, which is a long, long time ago, 3 years. And there are some conversations that highlight in my head and they stand out that we've had over time, like just to mention a few with
Mm,
regards to you going absolutely nails in on being not anti porn but the dangers of porn, your knowledge in the when I was kind of looking into supplements as a coach for the first time, you were kind of a good gateway into learning a little bit more about that. You were men's health, having a purpose, many different conversations that we've had over the 20 episodes that you've been on. What are some of the ones that stand out in your head that you've really enjoyed and ones that you kind of remember and look back on?
So I'd say definitely the supplement one. Definitely. I think probably out of the, if it's 20 times I've been on, we're not going to remember every single one. We've probably spoken more about men's health than we have anything else. Because
Yeah,
obviously
for
that's a
sure.
big
Yeah.
thing to speak about, right? The supplement one is good. I love talking about supplements. One of my rabbit holes. It's one of my favorite things to dive into. I think it's a fascinating realm. And it's a way I increase my education, and I try and find the missing links for people where it's not just as simple as sorting your diet out and sorting your training out. Um, and so being able to share that not only helps get the information out there, but it helps solidify what I know as well. When you truly understand something when you're able to teach it to someone else, right? So, but I just love talking. I really, really do. And I love when my mates message me about stuff as well. Mate of mine messaged me not too long ago about this methylene blue. Have you seen this? This blue, it's literally a blue liquid thing you put in the preparedness. I think I haven't looked too deep into it. I think it's like anti-inflammatory. And Robert Kennedy Jr. was seen dunking it on a plane or something like that. I think it's like an anti-inflammatory thing. So obviously longevity, anti-aging, that sort of stuff. Whether there's any truth to it or not, but guarantee I'm going to start learning about it. And doesn't mean I'm going to test it out because again, there's things you do need in your body and there's things you don't necessarily need. But that's yeah, that was one of my favorites without doubt. We I know we did the aliens one. Did we do a conspiracy one, or was that just kind of blended into two?
I think I asked you what your favorite conspiracy theory was,
Yeah, yeah.
which
It was probably 9/11, right?
yeah, it's 9/11. Yeah, I remember that being yeah, wait, fucking wild though. The thing
Still
like
is, still is.
step, well, mate, the knock-on effect of
Mm,
that will never be matched. I don't
yeah,
think.
yeah. I mean, that changed that literally one event that changed the world. And it's wild to say that there are adults now that didn't see that. It's crazy for me to consider.
What do you mean?
But yeah, as in people that were born after 2001.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Someone
Yeah.
someone was born December 2001. They're 24 now, right? Or 23, depending on the math. What is correct there? I'm not good at math. I'm good at supplements. So that terrifies me to think there's people that were born just after that adults now. Is wild.
On the
Um,
on the
mm,
aliens front, there's like
mm,
a new storyline going on at the
mm.
moment in there about this
Yeah,
object that they're
yeah.
saying could be a. What have you seen about that so far?
I see every single direction, right? I see the people that claim this is true and there is an object heading towards Earth that is likely to be a mothership. I see the people that say there is an object detected in our galaxy or whatever proximity they're saying it's in. That it's just an object. I forget the guy's name. Really annoying me. I've been trying to think of it because I knew we were going to talk about this. I've
What did
forgotten
he
his
speak
name.
about? I can.
Avi Loeb. Avi Loeb.
There we go.
He's been on. I'm pretty sure he's been on Rogan. He's been on some others. Pretty sure he's been on Lex Fridman. He's the guy that maybe either identified this object originally, way back, and it's his theory that it's physical. It's not man-made, but it's made. It's a construction. Oh my god, constructed object rather than a rock,
Oh my
an
God.
asteroid, or whatever. He's the one that making a big claim that it is something. But again, I see I see every angle because these are the rabbit holes I allow myself into when I've got free time. I've got the people that say they're already in contact with it. I've got the people that say this is part of some big malevolent fake plan for us to believe that something is heading towards us. So they can elicit more control, more surveillance, things like that. I see it all. My own thoughts about it at the moment, I don't know because my focus has been going on other things at the moment. Now, I've previously said before, with all these conspiracies and watching for aliens and things like that, um, that, okay, this stuff's cool. And if a mothership did suddenly appear in the sky tomorrow morning, you've still got to take the bins out. Chances are your boss is still probably going to ring you up saying, why haven't you come into work today? And a mothership being in the air may not be the excuse that you were hoping it would be. But with all this stuff going on, I've got twins expected at some point between now and hopefully a little bit later in the year. Hopefully they're not too premature, but they are likely to be. Um, so my focus has got to go on that. But I still read about this stuff. I still learn about this stuff. I'm a big fan of Jeremy Corbell, and
Yes.
I'll have to send it to you. There's a great interview clip with him, quite harrowing actually, where he's saying the big lie we will be told is that a mothership has been detected and is heading towards Earth and will likely reach us by 2027, I think he says. And well, that's already starting to happen. There's this media push now. Is this thing enough? Is this a mothership? Is it heading towards Earth? Yeah, of course it is. And at the same time, I'm then seeing Tucker Carlson this morning, a clip. Well, I haven't watched the podcast yet, where he's saying that he has knowledge or proof, or maybe just knowledge, that the government is in contact with supernatural beings, which brings back the whole thing of, is our government already in contact with aliens? And but if you don't kind of compartmentalize this stuff in your own life, all your thoughts and energy can just go on that
Yeah,
and
yeah.
nothing else, and no shit gets done. And before I know it, I've done nothing that day because I've been reading about aliens all day. But I also am well aware that with twins, there's going to be a lot of sleepless nights. It's the perfect opportunity to delve deeper into into some of these rabbit holes again and see what I think is actually coming out or not.
I'd like to. I've been obviously. I love Rogue. I try not to dive too deep into all of these things myself, mate,
Mm.
because like you say, if you go down one rabbit hole, they're like an interchanging nest of shit, aren't they? You know, you just get stuck. You try and get like a maze, isn't they? You go
Yeah, yeah,
down and you try and get out,
absolutely
and you're
is.
fucked.
Yeah.
But one thing that I would say is that they're like I remember when couldn't stop listening back in the day, David Icke shit, mate. Like mad, and the things he used to talk about with the
Wild.
Saturn moons and all of
Yeah,
those kind of things, and
yeah.
you go so far down into those, you're like, Jesus Christ, what is real and what's not? But
Mm.
the reality is the reality is for me, my reality is we don't know.
Mm.
That's the fundamental truth.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's any real solid proof as to how the pyramids were made. Some people have arguments one way. You've got I don't remember the guy's name, but the main Egyptian dig man who's been stopping all of these stories being. Do
But
you know?
yeah. Yeah, I
He's
know what you
like
mean. I know what
in
you mean.
control of every contract that's ever
Yeah,
happened in terms of digging
yeah.
deep underground in the
Mm.
pyramids, and any story that or any kind of narrative that has been shared or philosophy or idea that's been shared that all of these pyramids were interlinked in the past he'd been like, no, been disproved, blah blah blah. They've just created these what's the actual scientific name for it where they can scan underground
It's
basically.
like seismic or something like that. I
Yeah,
can't remember
that's
the
right.
official name. Yeah, I can't remember.
But
It's probably not even
they've
seismic, right?
they've now proved,
Um,
right, that they are interlinked. So however many years of history has just been debunked there. I think
mm.
the what's it? Is it
Graham Hancock.
Graham
Graham
Hancock?
Hancock's
Yeah, I was
incredible.
gonna. Yeah, Graham Hancock's theory of the lost city of Atlantis. When
Mm.
you listen to him talk, he can make
Mm.
you believe in anything. I think that guy.
Yeah,
But the
yeah.
truth is, we don't know.
We
And
don't know.
until something like slaps you around the face and says, and I think that's probably when you listen to Richard Dawkins, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Like when you
yeah.
listen to his theory on religion and stuff, and I don't mean to be offensive to anybody, but when you listen to him and how he talks about religion, in the same breath, I think you could talk about all of these things as well, whether you believe or you don't. And the truth is, unless there's a great big stack of evidence that lists up that's like, that's impossible, that's impossible, that's
Mm.
impossible, with the knowledge of science that we have right now,
Mm.
then for me, I'm like, well, we don't know. So you can't have
Mm.
an opinion either way. It's like when somebody says, well, is the universe expanding or not? They don't actually know. It's just a theory, isn't it? Like
Just a
any,
big bang theory. It's not the
yeah,
Big Bang conclusive proof. It's the Big
yeah,
Bang
exactly.
theory, right?
And it's just, I think it's insane.
Mm.
And there is, and I don't know, I think what did I land on the other day? The theory that we're in simulation, like whatever it is a
Mm.
simulation, which is just like, but obviously I don't believe that as such because I don't see there being any point in believing something like that. But I think anything is possible apart from the stuff that, when we look at evidence, can't be
Mm.
backed up, right?
And all these things you've just listed, the history of our Earth as we know it through looking at ancient civilizations. Is there life in the universe as well? Is there, and then looking deeper at our own society, not without getting too conspiratorial again, a lot of it is we don't know because it's not in someone else's interest for us to know. It's not in whatever private contractors are looking at this stuff. It's not in their interest as to whether the general public knows there's a mothership heading towards Earth or not until it becomes there is. It's not in our interest to know if there was a genuine Epstein list or not. Someone else's decision on what we know. So again, you can spend, and I've been there. This was my early 20s, late teens, early 20s. and I still dive into these rabbit holes. But there was a lot of my time spent just looking at all this stuff, and eventually you do hit a dead end because you'll never conclusively know, especially if it's something that someone else has hidden, really hidden, that you're never going to find out. But you'll also never conclusively know if there actually isn't anything to discover there. But you've put so much, I forget the name of it. But there's a thing where you put so much time and effort into it that even if it's kind of being disproved, you can't change your belief system because of what you already, how much you've invested into it already. That you'd rather be wrong but invested in it than unable to look at what is actually happening. All these things together, so much of it can take over your life. And even if we do find out there's a mothership and there was an Epstein list and the government are actually demons and God is a real thing, but he created a simulation that we are actually, whatever the hell it is, let's say you find out all that stuff, okay, what you can do about it. There's not a
Yeah.
lot you can do
I
apart
actually,
from look after yourself, look after those close to you, improve your life, look after dogs, all that, you know?
mate, and I think that really does. For I had a conversation with her. I actually texted my mate about this the other day, so I always remember it. It was at the time where I kind of dived a bit too deep into that algorithm of stuff, and I was just chatting. It was after a documentary had come out around the time on BBC, um, para hypernormalization. It was a good documentary. I recommend anybody go and watch it. It probably may open your eyes a little bit as to narratives and things like that and how things can be fed. It's about Gaddafi and all of those kind of things. Anyway, he was like, mate, there's no point really looking. He literally just said what you said. So you both must be barking from the same wise tree. But it's true, and I do think, like, going back to the same point really, without repeating myself, is that there is no real point looking into it too much, because whatever energy you could be putting into having this great knowledge on and being one up on somebody else, well, actually, like you say, you're only going to be one up on a ladder that's closer to a dead end
Yeah.
anyway, or a locked door. So, and it's, I don't know if you listened to Chris Williamson's pod with the guy that was like a specialist in MK Ultra. There's only
Mm,
a certain amount of experiments and theories that they tested when they were pretty fucking horrible things that they were
mm,
doing to people that have been released, and then apparently the files got burnt or whatever. But that's only the knowledge that, like, did they get burnt? Did they just not get released? Who knows? And this to say, if you want to go back to that Epstein thing is
mm.
fucking, like, yeah. But and here's the other thing, mate. Here's the other thing, that if, like, there's probably a lot of people like us that are like, and this isn't a spite, it's just the way that it is. We know that it's not right. Like, all of this information is this undisclosed in some way, and it's taken so long for recordings of flights where they've seen Tic Tacs to be released sort of 20 years later, right? It's not right for it to be kept, and everybody kind of knows that. And those who know that but aren't that bothered about it will stay to one side. But the people that are like, well, yeah, but we should be finding out, there's not many people that go out and do something about it, right?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just interesting. I find it interesting how the human, and is that because that's linked back to some form of comfort? It's best
It's
not
a
to know.
distraction. It's a distraction for sure.
Yeah, wild. Yeah. What about any other conversations that
And
like to?
of course, this is probably my favorite one because it is still one of my favorite subjects. And obviously now this realm of information is going to take on an entirely new um, level of hopefully happiness for me when I have kids. It's the Christmas film one.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Love watching Christmas films, and now someone else can experience those great movies with me, and I can experience them in a whole different way. Hopefully,
There's no
um,
better feeling than going. So, like, if I've watched a film with Miriam that I fucking love and she's not seen before, you enjoy it again. Whereas if you
yeah,
was to watch it on your
yeah.
own, it's slightly different, right?
Mm.
Yeah, you got
And
all.
that's why because someone else's appreciation or dislike of a film, if you're watching it with them, even if it is one of your favorite films, it can kind of change your opinion about it a little bit. That's why
Yeah,
certain films, if my missus hasn't seen them, I'm absolutely fine not forcing her to watch it. I'll just watch it on my
But to be fair, the one film that I'm I'm a bit soppy, but the film About Time, mate. If you've not seen that, stick that on with your missus. It's
film
fucking
about time.
About Time. It's called About
About
Time.
time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's unbelievable. It's rom-com British, that kind of
Right.
yeah, that kind of genre. But it's 10 out of 10. In terms of the podcast, then, mate, and the story about 100% and people who I've invited on. And we'll do this one last little serious subject before we go on to
Mm.
the not so serious one at the end. Is that I've absolutely loved speaking to people about their growth stories, mate. And you yourself, somebody that I didn't know until later on into the episodes that we'd done together, how much of a comeback story that you'd been on, right? With your Christmas Eve, Christmas Eve.
21st, yeah. Christmas
Yeah.
Eve,
Christmas
21st,
Eve,
yeah.
even, yeah, and how you've bounced back from that. So you've got your own 100% story, and I've absolutely loved speaking to people who have come back from the the sheer moments of desperation, essentially, to come and impact people in an amazing way, albeit on my podcast in a small way, but you with your own business and how you've impacted other people. What would you say to somebody right now who is on the cusp of they're not feeling 100% if I was to bring my branding into this and they are on the cusp of doing something about it, but they just don't know where to start? They're feeling shit, they're out of shape. What are your words for that person if you've got 30 seconds to motivate them and tell them what could happen if they just make that decision?
The first thing I tell them to do, to actively do, no matter what that struggle is that they're having, may sound so oversimplified that some people would laugh at it. Go for a walk. The smallest, best thing you could possibly do for your mental health in those dark moments in time is go for a walk. When I was at my absolute lowest, if someone had said anything to me about the future, anything about tomorrow, anything about, well, it can be different, I probably wouldn't have listened. It took me to get a little bit further up the ladder for me to start realizing, oh, yeah, of course it's different. Yeah, I don't have to make that decision. Things aren't that bad. But when you're in the thick of it, you don't necessarily see that, and you're not thinking about the future. You're stuck in the anxiety. Anxiety is a future thing. You're stuck in the depression of the past and the panic of the right now that of how bad you perceive things to be. Something as simple as just going for it. So you're not doing anything physically challenging that's going to cause you frustration. You just walk, and in that opportunity to walk, you're going to see other parts of life. You have the opportunity to listen to something, whether that's just music, whether that is a podcast on personal development or something like that. But if at your lowest, you're probably not going to do that. But I've never known anyone to go for a walk and feel worse off coming after it. And anyone can do that. No one can say, no, it'd be different if I said, right, go for a 10K run. Not everyone's going to be able to do that. Just going for that walk. It's just a pattern break. You're physically moving your body. There's going to be endorphins released. Your blood is pumping. If you're feeling depressed and suicidal and rock bottom, you're probably sitting down a lot and just sedating and living a sedentary life at the same time. So moving is one of the best things you can actually physically do. And just a calm, clear your head walk, flipping hell, you might even get insights on that first walk alone that could actually change your life. But again, it's just about breaking the pattern of negative thinking of whatever you're doing, whether that is sedating with certain things, whether that is just in a completely negative headspace, or even worse, getting close to the edge. Then it's a case of, okay, because again, someone's at that kind of rock bottom, you can't just chuck tool after tool after tool at, because people aren't going to listen. I used to work with Paul, right? And Paul puts out some very, very powerful free things that people in very, very desperate need ask for and then do absolutely nothing with, or get defensive over doing absolutely nothing with it. It's quite wild to see when people are actually opting in for help and then refusing to actually do what it takes to quite clearly fix their problem, as many people inside of Alliance, including us, have. But then it's the best thing you can then do. You're in that negative headspace and you're mad at yourself or you're mad at other people and you're thinking this is true. It's just trying to find instances in your life where that's not the case. So let's say my relationship has failed and all my relationships fail. And it's always because of this reason, and it's because either I fuck up or they fuck up or whatever. There'll be at least one instance in your life where that's not true. I haven't got any money because my business has never worked, because whatever. People always walk out on me because this, and that. Whatever's going, it's pointless me starting my diet and training because I always fail. There will be moments in your life, if you look back, that disproves the negative thoughts you were having at that moment in time. But people don't look back.
Yeah.
People are great at looking back at the bad, which is what gets us into these negative headspaces. We are terrible at looking back at the good. We almost pretty much have to force ourselves to do it, right? If you weren't in a program where you do a weekly journal, if you hadn't ever joined a program where you do a weekly review in your journal, you probably wouldn't be looking back every week at what you've done or what you've done over the previous quarter or even over the previous years. We don't, as regular people, we don't do that.
That's
That
so
could be
true.
that could be the biggest needle mover because it disproves what you're currently believing. Nothing I've ever done has worked. Well, so some things have. No one's life is actually no one. And again, I'm living in the slum pretty much. A very nice apartment, and out there is the slum. The amount of my algorithm is now filled with videos talking about this area and how bad it is. It's hilarious
Where
because
are
it's
you,
all
mate?
Ealing,
Oh yeah.
Ealing, and the number of people that say to me, well, Ealing's all right. It's not. Um, it's really flipping not. It's really not. Um, and if you think that is, I invite you down for 24 hours to come have a walk around, but I'll show you the sights. But you're not staying at my place. Yeah, the biggest thing you do is look back and realize, yeah, it's not that bad. And you can disprove your negative thoughts. And what was bringing it back to Ealing, I see the lowest of the low. I see the absolute lowest of the low. And I don't see many suicides in this area. And I see people that are at the bottom level of crime and the bottom level of drugs and homelessness that aren't ever getting close to suicidal. And that doesn't mean no one in that position does. I'm not discounting that in the slightest. Obviously, they do, and they're people that need help. But how many people instantly go to that negative headspace because their relationship has ended or because they've lost their job or something along those lines? Or people down here aren't doing it en masse. If that was the solution, then yeah, everyone would be doing it. And we're not. So get first thing, just go for a walk. Second thing, look back and disprove your own negative thoughts that you're experiencing at that moment in time.
Insane, mate.
And
I
that took
think,
me a while to realize.
yeah, I think it takes us all a while. And as you've said, mate, if we weren't in if we weren't supported by the program we're in, if we hadn't gone on our own lessons, if we hadn't created our own rules about the lives we wanted to live now, uh, like, yeah, who knows what different it would have been or how different it would have been. Mate, I think that's a perfect way to wrap up the podcast, actually. I think I don't mind saying, we were going to bring in the modern day new, like, fun topic of AI, but I think we could do a whole episode on that
Yeah,
in
pretty
itself,
much.
mate. If
Pretty
yeah,
much.
yeah, if you're up for that. So we've already got Rob back on for the 21st episode of his appearances on the 100% podcast. That has been episode 200 of the 100% podcast. A lot of things covered, from 20 appearances from Rob, what's changed on his life, what's changed on the 100% podcast, and some of our best memories of talking about things on this show, back to aliens, and then back to what you can do to make changes in your own life. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. Rob, where can people come and find you if they want to come find you?
It's all changing. It's all changing, bruv. So now you're going to find me on Instagram at Age Proof Protocol. Age Proof Protocol. We're changing from the fast lane. Still the same person, still the same message, but with a few slight variations in who I'm trying to help now. Age Proof Protocol. And eventually there will actually be a legit, something I never did before properly, a legit ageproofprotocol.com in the very, very near future. Oh,
Ooh,
yeah, we're taking it seriously now. Come on.
growth, growth.
Growth.
Insane, mate. If you have enjoyed today's episode of the 100% podcast, please make sure you drop a like and subscribe on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. If you're not watching on YouTube and you are listening through your little earphones, make sure you click subscribe and leave a little review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It does go a long, long way to helping the show. If you like the idea of growth as well and you want to get into it, but just in like a real subtle way, see if you can dabble. I have a free 14-day journal that can guide you through how to get growth over 2 weeks in the 100% way. And that's the way to do it. I'll see you here with a new episode every Friday. Take care.